When you see something coming to an end, you have a deeper appreciation for what you have, and so never forget that, and just enjoy this game. Don't ever let your sense of significance be determined by how you perform, because this game will beat you up. Just take it all in. You never know how long it's going to last, and to savor it, have fun with it, and you'll continue to be great at it.
When the Giants hired Bruce Bochy in 2007 to be their next manager, he was already known throughout the organization and baseball. And despite playing and managing in the majors for 32 years, few knew much about Bochy the person. And there wasn't exactly an excess of fanfare upon his arrival.
So we all remember Bruce Bochy, the player, and then you remember him with the Padres. But when he came to San Francisco, it was not a high-profile hire. To be totally honest, people were not excited. People were not excited. He was viewed as having sort of been left up on the side of the road by San Diego. It was sort of an insult to him. It wasn't sort of, it was an insult to him. Brian Sabean's like, that guy knows his baseball. If you don't want him, I'm taking him. And everybody thought, you could probably do better than Bruce Bochy. Funny how that worked out, huh?
I walked by the office and he said hello and shook my hand. And being a Giants fan growing up and kind of seeing him on TV and from the stands, it was pretty cool to be able to meet somebody like Bochy.
I mean, he gave a great first impression just because he was so open and honest and willing to share stuff and how he felt. I mean, a lot of managers are really guarded, and Bruce Bochy was not like that.
I didn't really get to know Bochy until he got here. And but by then, I mean, he had already earned my respect as a player and as a manager with the Padres. The way he ran his ship, the way that he and all of his coaches were in better shape than the players. I mean, I just think those are not small things in the eyes of a player or an opponent. When you ask your players to do something, you better be prepared to do it yourself, and that's kind of how he's always led. So that's how I got to know the legend of Bruce Bochy.
Bruce Bochy is that throwback to that era of great managers, those guys who controlled a team and made a team have their identity. And that was Bruce Bochy. This wasn't going to be oh, he didn't have a good year, let's get rid of him. You understood that when you have a guy like Bruce Bochy, whose life is baseball and whose knowledge is baseball, he's going to be a presence and a fixture. And even if you have a bad year, ride it out, because you want that guy with you.
What stood out to me over the years, whether it was the great years, the mediocre years, or the bad years, is his level of consistency and what he brings daily as far as his intent to win a game.
It's important that you respect your manager, and for the most part, you respect him if he has more money than you, if he's smarter than you, or if he can kick your ass. You know, Bochy's kind of the combination of all three of those things, right?
I mean, he definitely has control of the room. He has that kind of booming voice, and he's good at talking to where he kind of grabs your attention and you want to listen to what he has to say.
At least in my time here, he's been able to bring in a level of excitement every year that I think gets the guys going.
They respect him, and physically, because just of his sheer size. There's an intimidation factor about him until you actually get to know him.
I mean, I still, get upset here in the dugout when things aren't going well. We get picked off or something. No, that hasn't changed. But when it's over, it's over. And I'm letting it go a lot quicker and moving on.
He's very emotional, he's very competitive, and he does not show that in the heat of the battle. And I think that translates to the pressure spots. I think that's where the players take their cues from him. When things go wrong, when things go right, they stay the same. And to me, in this sport, that's a huge, huge key to winning those big games.
I'll remember him celebrating the World Championships, where in every postseason series, in 10, 12, and 14, every series, the Giants were underdogs. And even though they were underdogs in people's opinions, on paper, the one thing that didn't make them underdogs was the fact that he was a manager.
The Giants are champions in the National League West, and let the party begin.
For every playoff game, no matter how big, elimination games, seventh games, whatever the game was, you walked in that clubhouse before the game and there was calm. When you can find calm in your dugout or on the field on the day of a game, that's an edge. And that's what he is. That's what he brought to this team. That's what he brings to this team.
That edge helped the Giants beat the heavily favored Texas Rangers in the 2010 World Series, the franchise's first World Series title since moving to San Francisco in 1958.
When we hear people say, no one has ever in the history of the game managed bullpens better than he has, we have been able to watch that be very, very true.
The thread of his career is close games, pressure situations, finding the matchups to help his team win, putting his guys in the absolute best position to win.
So it's not just the guy, does he have the stuff for it, but does he have the mental makeup? Can you bring a guy in the 8th inning or the 9th inning and trust that he's not going to be overwhelmed by how big these outs are, how critical the outs are?
The first World Series championship we won, yeah, I would love to go back. That was the first one. And when Wilson threw the front door slider and Cruz and struck him out, sure, I'd love to relive that. I mean, that was the first for me, first for, of course, the city of San Francisco. But
when we were in Texas and him raising his hands up, because you could almost see there was a sense of, obviously, happiness, joy, but it was almost like a relief too, you know?
For the first time in 52 years, the Giants are world champions as they come pouring out of the dugout, dancing, hugging.
Bochy led the Giants to another World Series title in 2012, featuring an incredible playoff run that saw the club win 6 elimination games before sweeping the Detroit Tigers as the underdog once again. It was perhaps the quintessential example of Bochy and his team's ability to thrive under pressure, no matter the circumstances.
Sliders struck him out swinging. The Giants have won it. And the celebration begins. Bench. And a bloop to short. Back goes Crawford and leaps to make the catch. Swing, line drive, base hit center field. Blanco scores, and Matt Cain is the man who gets the clutch hit.
Swing and a miss. Swing and a miss.
Backpedals. He's got it. The Giants win the pennant. And the Giants beat out on the wet infield.
That, my friends, is a very tough pitch to hit.
2-2 pitch on the way. Cabrera takes strike 3 called, and the Giants have won the World Series in Detroit. And the celebration begins as the Giants mob the mound. Cabrera strikes out looking to end it. And not only have the Giants won the World Series, they have swept the Tigers in 4 games in dominant fashion. And it's the second World Series title for the Giants in the last 3 seasons.
Doesn't show a whole lot of emotion. It's sometimes tough to get a read on him, but he's confident in his guys. But in the dugout, you know he's pretty competitive.
I mean, I think he is the master of staying 2 or 3 moves ahead and never being surprised.
Buster Posey, he was talking to Michael Morse. This is a big series, and Morse is a big part of it. It was a big game, and Buster looked at Michael Morse before the game and he said, "We win these games." These are the games that we win. And that's a confidence that Bochy instilled in all those guys. When your ass is on the line and you're down to the short hairs of the season, these are the games that we win.
Well, in 2014, that World Series was the Madison Bumgarner World Series. Madison Bumgarner is on the short list, the shortest of all possible lists, is the greatest World Series pitcher of all time. He pitched Game 5. It's 2 games to 2 games, and everybody was demanding that Bochy pitch him in Game 4. They were behind 2 games to 1. And he had a stack of telegrams this high from people saying, "You're an idiot, how come you're not pitching him?" And any moron would know that he needs to pitch this game. So they went back to Kansas City ahead 3 games to 2. And I went down to his office after everybody was gone, all the media was gone. And he said, "Well, you know, I know that there was a good reason to pitch him in Game 4, and I could have done that. It wasn't like I overlooked it, but I felt that Vogelsong, who's had a good history in the postseason, could beat their number 4 pitcher. My concern is to win both of those games. We've got to win them both. But I need Bum to make sure that we win against their ace."
So we go into the press conference afterwards, and we're all sitting there. And Lowell Cohn, who's one of the great sports writers in Bay Area history, always asks very direct questions. And he sat down. The first question Lowell went right on. He said, "Bruce, I'm on Twitter, and they're saying right away, already on Twitter, that you're blowing it, that you have to start Madison Bumgarner in Game 7. What do you say to that? What should I say to them?" And Bruce just paused, and he said, "Well, we've made our decision to go with Tim Hudson. Bumgarner may be available out of the bullpen tomorrow night." And he paused, and he looked at Lowell, and he had this little twinkle in his eye, and he goes, "So, you can tweet him that." Everybody was relaxed, and you realized Bochy's going to be here tomorrow, and he's going to be good. And oh, by the way, he used Bumgarner, right?
Just 3 days after Bumgarner pitched a complete game, Bochy wrote his ace for the final 4 innings of Game 7, in one of the most iconic pitching performances in World Series history.
Back in the second inning with a sacrifice fly.
I think I'll always remember how excited and how happy he was, both after 2012 and 14, those World Series, but especially 14, I feel like, with how tense that last game was, and with the tying run on third and getting that pop-up to end the game. I'll always remember how excited and how happy he was, I think, about getting that last out.
Down the line in foul ground. He's got plenty of room, and he's got it! And the Giants have won. They have won the World Series for the 3rd time in 5 years. And Madison Bumgarner has firmly etched his name on the all-time World Series record books as one of the greatest World Series pitchers the game has ever seen.
What a great honor. What, for me, to manage such a tremendous team and a gutsy team like these guys.
I really am going to miss him at the top step of that dugout, running this club. I'm going to miss him in the clubhouse, touching base with guys.
Being around them, the coaching staff, just coming to the clubhouse, sitting in my office, and guys coming in, or that will be missed more so than the game itself, I think.
I mean, I can remember when his health wasn't great, and he was determined to show up and be here, and he had to miss a game or two, and all of us were thinking, like, Boch, take a week, take 2 weeks, take whatever you need. I think that's what'll stand out to me as much as anything. It's just his relentless desire to manage games and to help the guys and the staff win Major League Baseball games.
That's a lot of games to manage, and to stick with it for that long is pretty impressive.
After every World Series run that they made, I remember going into his office after the first one, and I said, "Well, what are you going to do now?" He said, "I'm going to take a 6-day nap." And I knew how he felt.
From a mental standpoint, a physical standpoint of getting on a plane, going across the country, sleeping in a different bed, flying back across country, night game, day game. There's not too many people that can do that, I don't think.
Have you told him that? Have you told him to slow down?
If I told him to slow down? No, I know better than that.
He delivers. There's a swing and a fly ball.
And Bochy hasn't slowed down. In his final season, the skipper became just the 11th manager in MLB history to win 2,000 games, and just the second manager in Giants history to win over 1,000 games with the club.
Congratulations to Bruce Bochy, who may well be headed to the Hall of Fame himself.
But my favorite Bochy story about who he is as a person, in 2015, they had the World Series ring ceremony here at the ballpark, but they include the broadcasters. So the first day I stopped wearing it to the ballpark, I go into Bochy's office and he says, "Where's your World Series ring?" And so I told him, I feel like I didn't win any games and I should not be wearing it. And he said, "I didn't win any games." And I always remembered that because he was completely serious about it. And I had never met a manager who really did not take any credit for any of the wins, but deflected all of that to the players, but not Boch. And I think that's one of the reasons behind his success, that he always looks at the players as the guys who get it done. So in that way, maybe you could call him a player's manager, but I think that is one of the reasons that guys play so hard for them. And that is the ultimate secret for any manager.
He's a baseball guy and not an analytics guy. But when it comes to managing human beings, that's what Bruce Bochy does differently than others.
It's always been that he's put himself in the shoes of everybody in that clubhouse. He doesn't put himself in front of the players. I played for guys that was all about the them, and it wasn't all about the team. I think he's uncomfortable talking about himself. He wants to talk about his players. He wants them to rejoice in the glory of accomplishment.
Bruce Bochy's decorated tenure in San Francisco cemented his legacy as one of the greatest managers in baseball history and punched his ticket to the Hall of Fame. Though he arrived with little fanfare, Bruce Bochy retires a Bay Area legend. He will be remembered not only for the unforgettable World Series titles, but for being loved and respected by nearly all who crossed his path. To Bruce Bochy, we tip our cap.
Boch, I know that you're going to watch a lot of games next year. Please don't turn the volume off. I'm going to miss having cocktails with you. A lot. So let's have one soon.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited that you get to do a little bit of fishing in the spring and the summer. And I know you got a couple grandkids and maybe another one on the way. And I'm excited that you get some time to spend with them. I know we'll see you around the ballpark. Enjoy some downtime, much deserved.
What you've done for this city, for this franchise, and for all of us who labored before you got here, I tip my cap. We're gonna miss you, you big donkey. Even your corny fish stories.
Thank you for the opportunity to play for him for so many years, and hope he has a fun and hopefully less stressful retirement.
Thank you, Bochy, for everything, for teaching me a lot of things in my life, in my career, and give me the opportunity to be here and let me be the person that I am. Thank you for everything, and I hope you enjoy your retire.
I learned a lot, man, and I love you, man. I love you like a grandfather. That's what you are. You're old.
I don't know that I've ever seen anybody better at what he does than you are at what you do, and I will always appreciate that about you, your acumen, your intelligence, your ability to do the job, but just the great person that you are. Thanks for everything that you've done for me, for all of us. I will never be able to repay all that, but I sure do appreciate it.
And it's been great working with you. We're going to miss you enormously. And maybe someday, soon, we'll meet up at the blackjack table.
Patience and decency with which you treated us in the media is something I'll never forget, because it made everybody's lives more pleasant. It made us all more educated about baseball. You taught us things. You as a person is what I think we will miss the most, and I will miss the most.
Well, it's been some kind of ride for me in my 13 years up here, and one of my best moves was coming up here back in 2007, and you fans have just made this such a lot of fun for me. And I look over the years at our ups and downs, but how you just stayed behind us all the time is something I'll never forget. And I've had some great moments with you, and I thank you forever for all the support you've given me and this team.